Here in the Aquatint area, first thing that you need to do is turn on the hot plate. So we want to turn it on to 300. Put the hot plate in use sign on, and come in here to the Aquatint room. This is the Aquatint box. Both of these handles go this way. You open the box like that. And the rosin is right here. Take one of these cards, and you want just a corner of the card. Put that in the box. Close the can up, close the box up. And then you'll notice these two levers right here. One air valve, another air valve. You want to turn this air valve on first. And this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This off, this off. Take the plexiglass, put your plate in the middle of the plexiglass, open up this door, and slide your plate on. Close it up and give it 5 minutes. Okay, now it's been 5 minutes and we're going to go back and take our plate out. When you do this, make sure that this door stays open, because if you take it out and you open the door, it can blow the resin off your plate. So this door stays open. Come in here, open that up. Very carefully remove your plate. It will have a even, thin coat of rosin on it. Leave that there. Come back in here and close this up. Shut this door. Then you want to take the spatula. And I like to kind of flex the plexi a little bit so that I can put that spatula right underneath, lifting it up. You'll notice that the dust is all around the plate on the plexi, and I very carefully put that on the plate. Now, there's pins right here. If you need to hold your plate down because it starts to warp because of the heat, you can take one of the pins and push that down. Now, when you do that, make sure that you're pushing down on a line. Otherwise, you will get a mark in your plate. This takes only about a minute for the rosin to heat up enough that it fuses to the plate, hardens enough so that when you put it in acid, all the little acid, the acid will cling to the very small rosin particles and create a tone. Okay. Be able to see a slight color change. Okay, that looks good. And remove your plate. When you're finished with the Aquatint only plexiglass, you can bring it back in here. Open up the rosin door. There's a brush right here, take that brush, simply brush your plate off. Plate goes back here. So I pulled this print. I like how it looks so far, but I'd like to develop the value, especially in this bark area and in the foreground of the grasses. So I want to keep this area, the area of the inside of the tree, light. So I'm going to use Stopout, and I'm going to paint over this area so that when I put it in the acid, it does not get etched. Everything else will get etched somewhat. Now I want to do this area a little bit darker and leave this area pretty much how it is. So I'm going to slowly lower my plate into the acid so that this area actually gets more time in the bath and this area gets less. Here's the Stopout varnish. Put a little piece of contact paper on the table for my palette. I have a couple different brushes here, so I'm just going to simply take the Stopout and paint any areas that I do not want darkness to occur. So I'm going right around on the light portion of this stump. I'm going to leave this open. I kind of like to have this portion a little bit darker, just right in here. This is actually floor wax and ink, and that stops the acid from eating at the plate. So I'm really just masking out what I don't want to have a value on. I found that sometimes at this stage it's a good idea to take a photo of your proof and flip it around on your phone so that you can see what you're really looking at, because remember, your print is opposite. Okay, I think that looks good. Yeah. All right. All right. So we're back in the acid room, and we have stopped out an area on this plate that isn't going to have any etchant affected. Everything else will. I'm going to slowly lower this into the acid bath. So I want to lower it this way. So I want to make sure the tape is on the top. Tape on the back, folded it over, the bottom is going to get more etchant. I'm going real slow. As I get to the top, it's going to be less time. Okay, that looks good. Rinse it off right away. And you'll notice the gradient. You'll also notice the area that had the stop out is not etched. Now it's gone in the acid bath once. I'm going to put a little bit more stop out on a few areas that I would like to have a little bit lighter than the background, but I still wanted a tone. So I'm just going to put a little bit of stop out on here. Now remember, stop out will give you a pretty definite line, so you want to paint it on kind of how you want it to look in the finished print.
So you're saying you should feather it out then?
Feather it out.
If you don't want a tight edge.
Yep, and know that any little mark that you make will show up in the finished print. Stop out that you could use is called white ground. This is located right up here. And what this does, unlike what the stop out does, is the thicker areas that you paint with this, the less etchant gets to it. The thinner areas, the more etchant gets to it. So it's based on thickness and thinness, and it produces a little bit more of a natural feel, because it will actually start to disintegrate a little bit in the acid bath. So put a little bit of this here. A little bit here. Here. So we're going to put this back in the acid, very similar to what we did last time. And these areas will have a slight differentiation from the rest. And maybe a few of the blades of grass, a little bit lighter in here. Kind of smudge this too a little bit. Create gradients that way. Okay, we're going to dip this one more time. This is called stage biting. So, dipping it once, you get one tone. Dipping it a second time by masking off other areas, and you will get more tones. About 30 seconds here. I want to make sure that the bottom is more darker. Okay, right back out. Rinse that off quick. Okay. Now it's time to see what we've got. This comes off. Garbage can. And this actually washes right off. See how that white ground allows the etchant to etch more gradually versus the tight ground, the tightness of the Stopout varnish. We're going to dry this off. Right. To remove the Aquatint, the rosin, you need denatured alcohol. Apply that all over your plate. That's it for just a few seconds. And that should come right off.